please.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order meeting of Community Unit School District 300 Board of Education. This is January 12th, 2016. I apologize for starting late. We were busy talking with some young students. Mr. Alessio, please call the roll.
Alessio, present. Burley, Fiorentino,
Present.
Garcia,
Present.
Lopez, Miller,
Present.
Stevens.
Okay. Mr. Hyde, would you like to introduce our young pledge leaders?
Oh, you're sweet. Thank you.
Madam President, board members, staff, parents, and students, it's my pleasure to welcome you this evening. At this time, I'd like to ask Ms. Melanie Gravel to please come to the podium with her students. Students from Gary D. Wright Elementary School will be leading us today in our pledge.
Oh, and parents, please feel free to roam anywhere you want in the room to take pictures. Behind us up here, just don't block another parent or person from taking pictures, but feel free to roam. Sorry.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Melanie Gravel. I am the very proud principal of Gary D. Wright Elementary School. Also joining me this evening is our assistant principal, Dr. Brett Unruh. And we have some wonderful students who are standing before you today who are here to serve as examples of our student body, and I could not be more proud of them to be able to have this opportunity. So first, I'd like to thank everyone for this opportunity to be able to not only serve as pledge leaders, but to be able to recognize these students for their outstanding accomplishments. I'd like to talk to you for just a moment about why these students were selected to be here this evening. And we've had a long conversation about that as well. So each of these students, this is no surprise to any of them. They have been working extremely hard throughout this school year. And there's something that we work on amongst our staff in education. We call it growth mindset, meaning that we don't just have natural abilities in what we do, but we also work very hard to achieve growth. And these students standing before you, we have 8 of them, and they represent first graders through 5th graders from our elementary school. And from the fall on their iReady, which is an assessment that we've been utilizing this year, until the winter benchmarking period, they have all demonstrated in both reading and math tremendous growth, upwards of 300% in some areas. And we talked about it. Students, did that just happen because you were lucky or by chance, or did you work really hard? They worked really hard. Part of what they've been working hard on, they have lessons that they're able to work on, and some of these students standing up here today have gone through over 80 to 90 lessons.
Wow.
And they have worked really hard. And now they're not going to tell you what, but some of them, you know what, we don't always pass every single lesson on the first chance. But they've continued to work very hard, and they've continued to go at it. And you know what? They've persevered, and they've demonstrated that through hard work and perseverance, we can definitely achieve that growth that we're all hoping for. So I could not be more proud of this group of students today, and I'd like to recognize them. So first, why don't we, I do have certificates for you students, but I would like us to it'll be hard when we're saying the pledge, I would imagine, so I could pass these to you afterward, but we have here first grader Husafa Gafour. We also have first grade student Leanne Buchanan. And then we also have our second grade student, we have Kate English. Next to Kate, we have our third grade student, Evan Branca. Next to Evan, we also have second grade student, John Belshan. Next to John, we have fifth grade student, Annabelle Cassidy. And then we have our third grade student, Joe Driscoll. And then on the end, we also have fifth grade student, Holden Austin. So I'm very proud of all of you, and I'm going to go ahead and give you these certificates after we say the pledge, okay? Congratulations. So please place your hand on your heart for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
So students, if you'd like to stand there for 1 second, I'll go ahead and give you your certificates.
There. Thank you guys for coming tonight in this cold weather. Thank you. You did a very nice job.
Good luck with the rest of your school year. Maybe a break on the left.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, could stay. Won't be as exciting as that part of the meeting. Yeah. I'm just going to give him a minute to. Okay, the agenda, I have a couple of slight changes. We will remove item 12 and item 13. And I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Fiorentino,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Alessio, I. Miller.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay, moving on. Mr. Hyde, you seem so far away tonight.
I do. Good evening, Madam President, board members, again, staff, family members, community members. Welcome to tonight's meeting. We do have several things for you tonight. I would like to start, though, by recognizing a few students and staff. We will bring them back to receive their blue ribbon certificates at a later date. But because of the timeline in which they receive these recognitions, it seems as if we'd be remiss if we didn't acknowledge them at this time. So starting out with two of our students, we do have Cassandra Thompson, who did place first. So I'd like to recognize her as a Hampshire High School junior, Cassandra Thompson, who recently won the VFW Voice of Democracy essay contest for the 5th District. Cassandra competed against nearly 400 other contestants in Northern Illinois to earn Best Essay. Cassandra, her parents, and local VFW representatives will attend a statewide award dinner on February 13th in Springfield, Illinois, where the state winner will be announced. Cassandra will be invited to an upcoming board meeting where she can be formally recognized for accomplishment and receive her Excellence Award. I'd also like to point out that not only did a D300 student produce the winning essay out of those 400 entries, but one of our students also earned second place. I'd also like to congratulate Dundee Crown's Michael Skibisky on his accomplishment, and we will also be inviting Michael to an upcoming meeting to provide him with formal recognition as well. But I think that those two students are a strong testament to the level of quality of education and experiences we're providing our students. I'd also like to
sorry. Do we have access? Can we read their papers?
I'd have to check into that. We were notified formally, so Anthony, Mr. McGinn, sorry, can we follow up and see if we can get copies of those essays? I'm sure they have. I'm sure the students can provide us with copies upon request. The other acknowledgement I'd like to make this evening is for Jamie Murray, the Jacobs baseball coach, who was recognized this last week by IHSA as Baseball Coach of the Year. On Monday, Jacobs baseball coach Jamie Murray was named formally Baseball Coach of the Year by IHSA. Last season, Mr. Murray led the Golden Eagles to a third-place finish in the Class 4A state tournament. The Golden Eagles had not won a regional before Mr. Murray became coach 4 years ago, but since becoming head coach, Jacobs has played in 3 consecutive sectional championships and have won 2. Coach Murray will now advance to the National Federation of High School Associations Coach of the Year honor, competing against coaches from Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, and Wisconsin. If he wins there, he will compete against other 7 sectional winners for the national honor. Coach Murray will be invited to an upcoming board meeting to be formally recognized for his accomplishment. But then again,
He's here all the time.
he and John Betts. So I think that, again, a strong testament to the quality of staff that we have supporting our students in not only within the classrooms, but with their external interests in sports and athletics as well.
Well deserved.
Thank you. So at this time, I'd like to go ahead and call Dr. Churchill to the podium. We have several topics, and I'll briefly review those as Mr. Churchill gets ready to transition. The first is an update. As your board will recall, I provided you with, we called it an Easter egg last time, about our ECC full-day dual credit option. So seniors and juniors eventually in the second year of implementation would be able to earn college credit while remaining a high school student. The second presentation tonight will be an update on the one-to-one device deployment or technology initiative. The third update will be providing you a master facility plan update. And then fourth, we'll have the strategic plan update. This is just an update not about each individual initiative, but more so about where we are with publication and moving forward with the reporting timelines for the board. You will receive a formal strategic plan update in an upcoming meeting. And in professional development, Ms. Lindsay Abadudo is here this evening. She is our Director of Professional Development. She has some updates to provide you as well. As a quick touch point, since Melanie did such a great job talking about iReady with her students, the board for the second meeting in January will receive an update as to all the progress made in students in grades 1 through 8 as far as their iReady performance. You'll see growth by student at school and how we developed individual learning goals for each student and the progress that's been made to date. I think you'll be very impressed with what you're seeing. And we await the opportunity to be able to show some correlation between that performance, which is clearly an indicator of standards performance on grade level and standards proficiency, and hopefully that shows a strong correlation at the end of the year with PARCC results. This is not about teaching to the test, but it is about identifying students' individual needs for both enrichment or acceleration and remediation. So it's an opportunity for us to share with you the first real data set we have from that iReady implementation, since it is a new implementation for this year. So at this time, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Churchill.
Thank you. So the first topic we're looking at here tonight is our dual credit programming at Elgin Community College. And as Mr. Hyde mentioned, we're very proud to announce our new Accelerate College program. I'll take you through a little bit of the history so you can kind of see what we have now and what we're debuting for next year. All of this is tied to the fourth goal of our strategic plan. So dual credit itself is a scenario in which a high school student is earning both high school credit and college credit at the same time. This requires dual enrollment, which means a high school student is enrolled on a college campus in order to earn that college credit. Dual credit classes are college classes taken by high school students. And it's important. The most important distinction here is these are not high school classes, they are college classes, regardless of where they're taught, whether at the high school campus or on the college campus. So I just wanted to be clear about that. To get college credit, they have to be a college class, and then we also offer high school credit at the same time. Nationally, there's really three models of dual credit. The first model is where the college classes are taught at the high school by a high school teacher. The second model is where the college classes are taught at a high school by a college teacher. And the third model is where the college classes are taught at the college by a college teacher. Currently in District 300, we do work with ECC on the third model where we teach college classes at the college by a college teacher. We are in talks with ECC to expand to Model A, which is a college class taught by our teachers on our campus. We are not currently in talks with anyone regarding the second model. I just wanted you to be aware of the different models nationally. So we currently have a middle college program and a tech prep program, both of which I'll highlight in just a moment. The third program is called the Accelerate College program beginning next year. Middle college is where our current high school seniors go to ECC for part of the day and take either college English, college math, which in this case is typically Calc 2, one of three liberal arts or humanities courses, And we've recently been able to offer Japanese as a foreign language. They used to offer Chinese and Japanese. ECC discontinued the program for a variety of reasons, but they do still continue to offer Japanese, so our students can take advantage of that if they wish. As you're aware, our district pays the cost of tuition. Students are responsible for purchasing textbooks and for providing their own transportation. The Tech Prep program is similar to middle college, though it's focused more on programs leading to a certificate. There's over 20 programs. I listed a couple of them there on the screen. It's a great opportunity for high school seniors who want to go on to the world of work after high school to earn classes leading to certification. And again, we pay tuition, students pay for books and take care of transportation. Our new Accelerate College program, as Mr. Hyde said, will be for seniors to attend full-time at ECC and earn up to a full year of college credit their senior year. Students can choose from a track leading to an Associate of Arts, an Associate of Science, or an Associate of Applied Science, and that third option focuses specifically on nursing and phlebotomy as a potential career field. The agreement we have with ECC is, again, that D300 covers the cost of tuition for students, and that students will be responsible for transporting themselves and purchasing books. Some of the logistics for you to be aware of, we're looking at hopefully 30 students next year, so 10 per high school we think is reasonable. They have to be seniors, they have to drive themselves. They'll be eligible to take between 12 and 16 credit hours per semester, so an associate degree requires 60 semester hours. Students will be able to earn between 24 and 32 their senior year. Students have to be fully college ready. So they have to take the placement tests at ECC and demonstrate readiness in reading, writing, and math. Most of our classes will be offered during the school day so that students hopefully will be able to get back to campus if they want to participate in athletics. But the college was clear with us that depending on the course load, it may not necessarily be possible. And which leads me to a point that I wanted to make sure I made. The program is not designed to be a silver bullet that meets the needs of every single kid in our system, right? If you are, for example, an orchestra student who has been working for the last 6 years and now you're excited as a senior to participate in the high ensemble for orchestra, this is probably not the program for you because you wouldn't be able to take advantage of our top performing orchestras because you'd be at the college during the day. Likewise, if you're taking some of the higher level math and science courses, many of which are 4, 5, sometimes 6 semester hour courses with labs, those may necessarily leach over into the later afternoon. So we'll encourage our students to talk with their families and then talk to the counselor to get a sense of whether or not this is something that's going to meet their needs. I don't think it's fair to sell you and the community a bill of goods and say every single kid can take advantage of this, because I don't think that's the case. But for those students who have some real specific goals in mind, either about going to college, earning an associate's, or going into the world of work, we do believe it's an excellent option.
Is the 30 the number is the number of students dictated by ECC or by
So we in our initial conversation with them together, we came up with that number. It's flexible, right? So if we find 32, they're not going to be upset. Likewise, frankly, if we find 15 in year one, we will certainly work with the college and they'll work with us.
What if you found 50?
Yeah, great question. I would make an appointment with Dr. Som, and I'm sure we could work something out.
As a point of clarification, if I may, I apologize, Mr. Fiorentino. Every student does have the option. That it is a decision, though, that has to be made. And as Dr. Churchill, pointed out, if students choose to take certain coursework, they will have to structure their day if they choose to continue to pursue other high school activities. So it is very much, that's why if you notice that last bullet on there, we would have a dedicated D300 counselor who will work in partnership with both the student, their family, and the school to structure a schedule around the students' needs. So it's important, and not that Dr. Churchill, he's not incorrect by any means, because he is pointing out the reality of this, but that students, if they choose to participate in this, may have to forfeit something in order to do so. And it is one of those, and that's why it's not for 800 students right now. It is, and we looked at a group that we felt we could comfortably support, which an initial group of 30 in a cohort made sense. Those students, while initially it looks like we'd have 10 opportunities at each school, it will be based on the number of students who demonstrate an interest and meet, as you see up there, the enrollment criteria. So,
Yeah, thank you. That was an important clarification. The last piece that I'll make note of, so ECC's courses run Monday through Thursdays in most cases. We will, on Fridays, have a spot, and we haven't figured out all of the logistics yet. I'm assuming it will be at Jacobs, where all 30 of the students can come and have a study table, can make appointments with counselors, can do some college advising. Students hopefully would be able to take advantage of college trips, perhaps with our AVID courses that occur on Fridays. We'd like to have some representatives from ISAC come in and do FAFSA training, those sorts of things. So it gives us a good touch point. That counselor that will be working with these students would be able to help track attendance and progress and provide that extra level of support. These students will be treated like college students when they're on the college campus. So we believe it's very important to have that weekly touch base with one of our staff members who knows and understands our students, both developmentally and socially, and can then support them. It's one more safety net before they graduate and go off on their own. So maybe this works, maybe. Oh, there we go. So, whoa, too far. It's my fault. So yesterday we met with the counselors at all 3 schools, and we provided them with the information in the blue folder in front of you. So you'll see there's a cover sheet. There's some information for families. The actual dual credit application is here. We use the same application. ECC uses the same application for all 3 programs, Middle College, Tech Prep, and Accelerate College. And then if you're really interested, the third or fourth piece in there gives you an example for all 3 programs of the course options for students. So if you're interested in the Associate of Applied Science option in nursing and phlebotomy, your choices are fairly limited. It's a pretty prescribed program. You do, however, at the end of the 1-year program, you do earn a certificate both in nursing assistance and in phlebotomy, as long as you do the 100-hour internship. And it's like a blood draw internship, right, where you have a certain number of sticks that you have to do. And our counselors will talk with students who are interested in that option, because for this one program, that 100-hour internship or practicum does take place a couple of weeks after our school year ends. So our students would complete the program, walk in our graduation ceremony, but then to earn that additional certificate, they'd have a couple of extra weeks of classes. It's pretty cool. The other 2 options there, you'll see, for example, the AA or the AS degrees. Students can choose between different math courses, different social and behavioral science courses, different physical and life science courses, depending on what they intend to do after high school. These are all courses that transfer to 4-year colleges, and they're all courses that would lead to the AA degree. So if a student decides to take advantage of this their senior year, and then realize that maybe they don't want to do an AS, maybe they want to go on to the U of I and study engineering, these courses, to the best of our knowledge, we've been assured will transfer. I hate to make a promise and then have the university turn around and do something different, but that's how we understand it today, and we're really pleased about that. We will do targeted student recruitment. We will ask students to finalize their selections in February. There is an admission process, application process, admission process, and then there are orientation meetings that are required for students and highly recommended for parents in the spring and summer. Are there any other questions that I can answer the board?
and it is expected that we would grow this program moving forward, which is again why we started with a smaller cohort group. We want to make sure that we've addressed all the issues, but that in the future, we expect to grow this to a junior senior program, again, to increase the number of available credit options to our students. It's an exciting time for students to get an opportunity to attend college and complete their high school coursework at the same time. You know, the vision, we talked about this last year, was in about 3 to 5 years, as a student walks across the stage, they shake, hopefully, my hand in your hands as they get their high school diploma, and standing to my immediate right is Dr. Sam, or whomever he sends as a designee, and they're shaking someone's hand and handing them an AA degree at the same time. And again, tuition free. That's a huge opportunity for some of our students, for all of our students.
Huge.
If there's no questions, I'll ask Ms. Ann Pasco to please join Dr. Churchill at the podium to transition to our next topic, which is the digital shift overview.
Excellent. So there's one additional flyer that you have there, and I'll apologize before we get started. This is a mock-up of the actual printed document, so it's kind of taped together and looks a little flimsy. But we're going to be sharing this with staff next week.
It's going on cardstock. We have 2,500 copies on order. So,
I will send your compliments to the staff that did that for us. So thank you. So Ms. Ann Pasco is here with me tonight. She is our instructional technology coordinator, and she's been really instrumental in pushing forward our collective agenda of increasing technology in our schools, and more importantly, not just increasing technology, but helping teachers and helping students understand how the use of tech in schools can really transform teaching and learning. It can change what we do, and Ms. Pasco really has been a key player in making this happen. So I'm glad she's here. I'm going to give just a brief overview, and then I'm going to hand off the mic. This particular initiative ties very well with many of the strategies in Strategic Goal 3. So we're going to talk about the digital shift with all of our K through 8 teachers, pre-K through 8 teachers on Friday the 15th. We have a full district teacher in service day, and all of our pre-K through 8 teachers are going to hear about the digital shift, which begs the question, what is the digital shift? And I've already mentioned technology, I've mentioned devices, and while certainly devices are a critical component of a digital shift, it's not just about devices. It's really about, as I mentioned, transforming what we do in the classroom. It's about facilitating creativity, innovation, collaboration, global awareness, information literacy, media literacy. It will allow us to do all of these things, but before we get too excited about the tech, I think it's really important to note that I heard this at a conference a few years ago, that the best app in our classrooms is our teachers, right? So we can't get so blown away by the bells and whistles of technology without really remembering that tech or no tech, it's the teachers that make the difference. We're aiming to individualize student learning, and we believe technology helps with that. But at the end of the day, it's our teachers that really drive it. So with that, I am going to hand it off to Ms. Pasco.
Hi there. Thanks for having me. So why are we doing this? What's the rationale and the benefits? And why are we actually looking at embarking down this pathway? The biggest reason is information. Information is changing. It's very different today than it was 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, before the invention of mobile technology and the iPad. Now information's coming at us all the time, and we have to think about how to handle that and how to create new processes and new content out of the information we have, as opposed to merely accepting information and then repeating it. So that causes a shift for our students. It causes a shift for our economy. It causes a shift for how we work in the business, which of course causes a reason why we need to have education be different, so that when our students do graduate, they go to ECC, they have the dual credit program, they're prepared, and they can be successful, because that's our ultimate goal. Students have a right to this. They have a right to expect that we're going to prepare them for their futures, and we're not going to teach them based upon their past. So that's important that we think about that, and that's hard to do without some of those technology pieces. So what are some of the benefits that we have in the classroom? Students can own their learning. What really does that mean? That means that those students that you saw stand in front of you tonight, they own their learning. I made mistakes. I could see what those mistakes were. I knew how to fix them. I knew how to do this. And it was because I did it. And I love my teacher, and they were the best person to guide me through that. But I know I made these changes, and I learned. And I remember them as I go through. That's a student owning their learning. And in order for that to happen, with all that information coming, we have to keep up-to-date information ready for them. So digital textbooks help us do that because they're constantly updated. And that helps us make sure we're getting the best information in front of them as we should be. Teachers also, when you have so many kids in your class that you're working with, just even 5 right there that you're in a small group, sometimes it's hard to see those thought processes that a student has, and technology lets us do that. So it lets a student see those thought processes, and then it lets that teacher see those thought processes in real time so they know what are you learning now and what can we do to adjust or to make changes so that we get you exactly where we want you to be to show success. It also allows us to have diversity in learning styles. So no longer do we have to say to a group of students, you're going to do this project and this is the way you're going to do it. We can now say to students, we have this project, this is what we want to learn, and there's 10 different ways you can learn it. And you can do that, and I as the teacher can manage that well, and I can see what you're learning, and you can also participate and have some student choice in what you're learning, which of course then also drives engagement. So these are the rationale and the benefits of why we believe that this path is important to go down. So what will it look like? Because that's the real question people have. That's nice, but what's it actually going to look like for me every day? So starting with preschool and kindergarten, we will have iPads in all classrooms, and we will have apps that students can use. That's important because they're very tactile. They need to touch them. They need to play with them. I'm sure as you've seen students or children who come in that aren't even in school yet, they naturally gravitate to some of that, and they'll just start playing. So we want them to utilize apps that are developmentally and curriculum appropriate in the classroom, and we're going to start to integrate some of those digital tools and skills as appropriate for those age ranges. And there we go. What will it look like grades 1 through 5? We transition at that point to a Chromebook. A Chromebook is extremely appropriate for an educational setting. It gives them a keyboard so that they can utilize that and work out with the things that they need to do, writing, typing, all different kinds of activities that are happening in the classroom. Students will be able to take those Chromebooks home. Now, that doesn't mean that students just walk in one day and we send them home with Chromebooks. There are processes that need to put in place, there's education that needs to put in place, and we scaffold that based upon the grade level and the curriculum so that we're doing that purposely throughout the year, and when students are ready, based upon that age grade, we start to send them home. We're also going to have new ELA materials that are adapted in a digital format to drive some of that as well, providing that interactive curriculum for those students. Supplementary math and science materials will also be provided in a digital format, and the online assessment program, which you've heard us talk about quite frequently, which is iReady. So grades 6 through 8, getting a little bit older, still have a Chromebook for every student. They can take them home, continue with the ELA, the supplementary math materials, and additional subject areas in a digital format based upon teacher interest. So basically what that means is that in the middle school years, teachers are teaching different subjects, and so we do not want to prevent a science teacher who sees that these digital activities are available and they want to utilize them in the curriculum, but by the same token, since we're not providing that standardized traditional or digital curriculum for them, we're not telling them they have to do that either. So we don't want to prevent people if they want to do a little bit more. We want to be able to allow them to do that. And we also have the iReady at that point.
So Pascal, let me jump into part of it. Also, what we're currently working on is providing a crosswalk and multiple online resources for teachers. Again, as we continue that shift away from the discussion that our textbook is our curriculum, because it is not. It is a course supplement to help you teach towards the grade level standards. We are looking, even though we may not do a full adoption, as you know, when the federal government provided Race to the Top dollars, other states were charged with the initiative of developing online curriculum. So we are sampling those where appropriate. So teachers will have a litany of resources that they can use outside of their core adoption as well, even before we may procure new content, their materials. They'll still have the online supplements. They'll still have other resources they can use to integrate into their classroom.
Thank you. So moving on into the high school grades 9 through 12. As you know, we have a pilot of one-to-one in all 3 high schools right now. We will continue that and have some gradual deployment of that based upon course interest. And we are going to start an initial pilot of the blended learning, which meant we did receive a seat time waiver this year. That's good for 2 years, so we're going to dip our toes in that slowly, as you would expect with a pilot. We'll have gradual deployment in grades 9 through 12 beginning in 17-18. So we'll look at what that's going to look like device-wise here in a couple of minutes. The big shift and the reason that we can do this is something called an LMS, a learning management system. So you might have heard different words about this: Blackboard, Schoology, Edmodo, Canvas, Haiku. This is basically an environment that lets us create that digital learning platform for students so that when they are not at school, they still can see, this is what my teacher taught today, this is what we talked about. Instead of just posting here are assignments, the teacher can add quite robust information. They can have interactivity of discussions, different things like that, so the student still feels like they're involved and they know. The best example of this is a student who might miss school for various reasons and comes back the next day, and instead of saying to the teacher, what did we do yesterday? They say to the teacher, I know what we talked about yesterday, I just have a couple questions and then I'm ready to go with everybody else. So that's part of that shift that really enables us to meet students and create that for them. In addition, it provides some information for parents. As we know, as parents, it's often hard. The older your children get, the less information they want to give you about what's happening in the classroom. And there is an ability here for parents to be able to see what's happening so they can aid their children as they go along in that path of learning. The question there is, why do we need this if we have Infinite Campus? So it's important to see that distinction between the two. The learning management system gives that content delivery, those interactive features, discussions, assessments, assignments, calendaring, how can I communicate with other people in the classroom safely? How can I communicate with my teacher? How can I see what I'm learning and see what I need to do to make sure I get that end goal that I want to get? The Infinite Campus is different. That's where we're going to look at static information, attendance, behavior, transportation, documentation through special ed, class schedules, report cards. So you really can look at the LMS as being dynamic and our Infinite Campus as being static. So they provide extremely important functions, but they're different. Yes, ma'am.
Real quickly, and forgive me if I missed this, but is this going to be able to follow the student?
Yes, it does.
So comprehensively, we'll have kind of a better picture, let's say at the end of like first through 5th grade, when they're going into 6th, we'll have 5 years of that LMS data essentially?
So you can think about it like this. Think about it as a portal that you log into and you can see all your classes that you have. As a parent, I could see my kindergarten classes, my middle school children's classes, and my high school students' classes. You can then, as the student, you can interact with that, and as you create material, so you create projects, you create different things that you turn in for assignments, you can actually pull those out and keep those in a portfolio that then you can take with you as you leave, much like an art portfolio would be. So you could take that digital portfolio. As what you're getting to very much so is data, and there is a lot of data that comes with this. We can start to see learning patterns, and we can see those. We could go back historically and see how a student has interacted with that information at the younger grades on up through that.
And with respect, just to add on to that, and Mr. Emerson will provide additional information about the status of this, but as we do move to single sign-on, this is an integral part of that because this is exactly what the parent portal is designed to do. Student portal, parent portal, and teacher portals will provide access to data that we've never been able to provide at a level before. And so, Kim, to your question, really what we're looking at is, yes, will the child's history be there? Yes. Not all their discipline per se. So all the years of discipline, those things get pulled out annually. But all of the students' academic performance and those other factors will be kept there. We maintain a lot of those other data points, attendance and things, are still maintained in Infinite Campus. They do regular updates about attendance and other things would be provided through the portal as they occur, but not necessarily the entire trajectory or history for that student. Their academic performance, we would be tracking over time to make sure that we're showing progress towards either grade level or exceeding grade level expectations on a continuum.
That's thoroughly exciting.
It is
I mean,
exciting.
from an educational standpoint, that's got to just thrill. It's thrilling. It's so exciting. Congratulations.
Good. So let's keep going. That's awesome. Teacher training and support. This is integral. It is integral to the success. It's extremely important. We need to be able to coach and to support teachers. So what does that mean? Coaching really is helping them through that gradual shift, because teachers have a shift too into how they interact with these things. And what does this data mean? And how do I utilize this to support a student? And how do I plan differently? And how do I think differently? So we have teacher in-service days this year. We've done quite a bit of that. Teacher in-service days where they come together, they collaborate. We talk about bring in data of what do we need to look at. We give some training, but then we also have hands-on where we're really diving in and looking at what do we need to do and how can we do that a little bit differently. We'll continue that process and have teacher in-service days next year. That's been very successful. And we will also have summer training dates, and then we have online components. The other benefit of this LMS is that teachers can learn in the same format that their students are learning in. So teachers receive professional development as a student in this LMS. So then they turn around and they can understand where that student is coming from, and it really creates a collaborative environment amongst teacher and student as we go forward. Parent notification involvement. This is the other part that's extremely important. We currently do have an online parent portal, a virtual help desk for parents that we maintain. We will expand that even more. With parents being able to get into the LMS, that helps us as well be able to communicate them. We will have parent nights during the summer and during first quarter. Those are definite. We will still have parent nights as we go through and help them through some of that shift as well. These will be buildings based, very hands-on. Parents will need to give permission for this, and we will teach them all of this, communicate with them have liaisons that they can talk with in the building and things of that nature so they feel involved through this shift as well. And our timeline. So the fall of 2016, we are going to have our devices in the preschool and kindergarten classes. Grades 1 through 8, that deployment to students begins in Q2. That really means that deployment where they can start to take those devices home will start to begin in Q2. Grades 9 through 12, we will continue our pilot next year in the high school, which will be at limited deployment. 9th grade students will receive devices in 2017, 10th in 2018, 11th in 2019, and 12th in 2020. So we will follow along that shift. So once a student does start to make this shift, it will continue along with them. We won't remove that from them at that point.
What's your reasoning to start in the second quarter versus start at the start of school?
So there are a couple of reasonings for that. One, we really want to ensure that the wireless and the infrastructure is ready and is good to go. The other is that there are processes that students need to learn. So as an adult, we don't think a whole lot about picking up a laptop and walking out with it. But as a child, we want them to know, how does the case work? How do you turn this on? How do you charge it? It needs to be charged. How do I use it? And we feel that we can do those things in the classroom. And then by the time that they take them home, they're ready to do that. And the parents had time to be trained as well.
And the additional reason is also it provides an adequate timeline. We did not want teachers to additionally be burdened with deployment during the first few weeks of starting school. So that was a valid reason as well. The other concern was that I think that regardless of how many opportunities we provided throughout the summer for the parent orientation, because the student will not receive their device until the parent completes that orientation process, that we knew that we would still have some parents, including new students who are registering, who need opportunities to receive those devices as well. So the delayed timeline, while it says Q2, it could be accelerated depending on where we are timeline-wise with the implementation or the integration or in updates to new wireless technologies in our classrooms and a wireless infrastructure. All those things could be expedited, again, depending on the timeline which things come to fruition. But we wanted to provide ourselves with some time to make sure that we had a little bit of a buffer as well.
So, do you have more slides on this? Okay, I have a question here, and then I want to go back to a previous one.
Okay.
The deployment for grades 9 through 12, students in ninth grade get it in 2017. Those ninth grade students then are 10th grade students the following year. So really, are you saying that starting in 2017, all freshmen, ninth grade students will get deployment, and by the time they're in 12th grade, they will have had it 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. So we're not doing them in those other grades. So if they get it ninth grade, we're not starting a deployment in 10th grade. We're starting, the next year deployment is in ninth grade and 10th grade. And
Yes.
then it's 9th, 10th, and
Yes.
11th. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I understood that, because at first I didn't.
It gets a little tricky in there.
But I think it means that by 2020, which when I first saw that date, I thought 2020, wow, that's like way out there. And then I realized it really isn't. How, that's our current 8th grade students now.
Correct.
So
7th grade.
I just needed that clarified. My other comments, I'm trying to formalize how I want to actually express this. We're doing teacher professional development.
Yes.
And I think, in teachers that have been teaching for a period of time, are not newly out of college. That's great. I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful for even new teachers. But I'm wondering what our teaching colleges for teachers are doing. Because I look here and we see what we're doing here, and there's probably other schools where we've got students that are graduating and now they're in college. And this is something that they are going to be used to, just like we have our younger students coming in, and seeing an iPad is not anything new. They've had them, they've seen them. And so these students and previous students have gone to college, they get a teaching degree, they come out and then they start teaching with this in mind, but only if those teaching colleges are teaching this.
Correct.
So do we know, or have we partnered with any teaching, colleges for teachers, or college teaching programs? So that when they graduate and they have their teaching certificate, they have some level of knowing how to do this. Because to me, this is a whole new way of teaching. Mm-hmm. And this is something that, while we're doing professional development, I see this as being a so new or so different way of teaching, that professional development classes time might not be enough. I could see a semester class on how to prepare one for teaching in the classroom with a device. And we've talked many times that our students' learning environment is our teachers' work and teaching environment. So we've got teachers that are teaching this to our students. Again, it's not for us to solve the problems, but I think that unless our colleges start making some changes to how they are preparing students to teach, we're not ever going to really be able to have a program like this that can work to the best of its ability. Because we need those schools, those teachers, when they get their certificate, to know how to do this. Not that I want to have any teachers that have been teaching for a while not here, not learning how to do this, but I see a cycle here. And they got to be, we can't forget those 4 years that they're in college, and then they come back here and we have to teach them. I'm rambling, so it's just my point.
So I'll make a stab at that, and Dr. Churchill or Mr. Hyde might want to jump in. What you're hitting at is that we have two senses of obligation, and we have to teach our students how to own their learning and how to be prepared for that next level, but we also have to prepare our teachers and receive them from teaching colleges and prepare them for the classroom. So there are schools out here that are preparing students for this. There are schools who aren't. And so what you're getting at is really the next level. Once we are to the point that we can say, we have some people to offer you, do you have some to offer us? Then that is a conversation that starts to happen. How do we partner with some colleges? How do we have student teachers here? How do we go there? How do we build that type of environment? And it's a very diverse culture as far as teaching and learning. I have had quite a few conversations with staff at ISU. They are implementing quite a few of these things. They have a great program with their own high school there and many of that. A couple other colleges that I've talked to don't. So that's once we get this started and have teachers who are interested in that type of activity back and forth, then that's our next step, the things that we need to look at.
And then we have data that will probably tell us this works or this doesn't work.
Yes,
We always have data.
we always have data.
So can I presume that this is going to lead to increased communication abilities between our our non-English speaking families, that these programs are going to be available in Spanish, that we'll be able to better communicate with our Spanish and maybe Polish? I know we have Polish speaking people in our district. I mean, is this set up to do that? Like, we could just push a key and it goes like English to Spanish?
So not quite that.
Well, let's work on that.
fancy,
No.
but yes. So we are looking at that, about we are looking at Spanish versions of the ELA curriculum. What we do have, the world that we live in now, are ways that people can have a web page and they can choose to translate it. So again, that's a different skill. And we have talked about that, bringing parents in and talking to them about if you are a native Spanish speaker at home and your child is learning English and this page is in English, how can you translate that, have a conversation with your student? Where might there be a mistranslation? Where might it be correct? How do we have that conversation? So it's really enabling us to try to pull all families in and have some of those conversations and create a very friendly environment for people to talk about their child's education.
That's great. Again.
Thanks.
So just a couple very quick additional comments. So I am learning from my superintendent all the time. And one of the things that he does extraordinarily well is
spelling?
Wow.
To be fair, they were not misspelled. They were misused.
Oh, that is correct. That is
Not
correct.
misspelled. You spelled everything correctly.
So in addition to that, one of the things that our superintendent does well is he manages to compliment someone and in the same sort of broad stroke then totally ignore a whole wide swath of other people, right? And so I did that this evening. So I wanted to make sure that Ms. Pasco is really helping drive our agenda, but that's not occurring without a lot of other people. So it starts at the top, and it's the vision of our superintendent that's really pushing this agenda forward. Jason Emrickson and the tech, the rest of the technicians and the tech team have really done an amazing job. When we're talking about the volume of devices we're about to deploy, that's a heavy lift on the tech department. So we're very thankful for his leadership. Mrs. Harkin and Mr. Bombalis on the operations and finance side, absolutely. And then our assistant superintendents, our directors on the curriculum and instruction side. There's a lot that goes into this. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge to the board and publicly all of the people that are involved in making this successful. I'm proud to be part of this team. I hope that you as a board are proud as well, because we are doing some pretty amazing things.
So I thank you for that, and I do apologize to Mr.
No,
Hyde.
ma'am, no
It
apology
was,
necessary.
One of the things that
I
we
may
do
be
also learn very well from Mr. Hyde is the buck stops here. I can't tell you how refreshing and nice it is to have a superintendent that not only has professionals doing their job and is supportive in that, but is also one that does not ever point fingers. So my comment was not meant in any other way except for humor.
And I deserved it. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
I think Dr. Churchill's bucking for Boss of the Year award this year. At this time, I would like to ask Susan Harkin, our Chief Financial Officer and Chief Operating Officer, to please join us at the podium, along with Chuck Bombalis, our Assistant Superintendent for Building and Operations. And at this time, they will present to you an update on our master facility plan and other topics.
So as we've tried to show you tonight, all of the work that we're working on is somehow tied to our strategic plan. And the presentation on the master facility plan has a lot to do with our goal 3, equitable and efficient use of our resources. But it also has a tie to the development of the whole child related to the safety and security of our buildings and properly maintaining them. So we cover 2 different goals. So tonight's presentation will provide an overview of the master facility plan. When I got here a couple years ago, we formulated a way to address the Construction and Facility Oversights Committee. How are we managing after we've done this large-scale referendum to ensure that our facilities are being properly maintained? So tonight's presentation is focused on providing you information in relationship to the work that's being done collectively by lots of people. As Mr. Churchill's now set me up, or Dr. Churchill, to make sure I acknowledge everyone that's been a part of this very large undertaking of this task. We'll talk about how our project development process was undertaken. We'll talk about an overall how are our facilities looking, where are we at with all of them, and then we'll present to you 1 page of the master facility plan, which is almost a 40-page document that supports by building where we're at, what needs to be done, and Mr. Fiorentino serves on that Construction Facility Oversight Committee, and they reviewed this plan that we're presenting to you tonight. And then the last thing we'll do is talk about proposed projects for 2016 and where the funding would come from, and then kind of a long-term vision of how we need to continue maintaining our facilities. So the purpose of the master facility plan, I think it's important for us to frame, why do we do this? Well, one is a comprehensive listing of all of our key facility systems. If we don't have lighting, if we don't have heating, if we don't have all those key systems, our kids can't learn. So it's important to make sure that those things function. We take them for granted sometimes, but they're really a critical component, and we want to make sure that we don't neglect those areas of our budget. We want to make sure that things are being properly maintained, that the dollars we're using are being used appropriately, that we're not spending money on repairs and maintenance when we really need to be replacing things and updating any equipment that's out there. And then this then becomes how we can come back to you, provide what are the building projects that we would propose to be done, so that you can approve that as part of our budget cycle. And this will be part of our formal budget cycle that's coming up that we'll present to you at the next board meeting. And additionally, this does tie to an agenda item that's later on in our agenda in relationship to the qualified school construction bond as a possibility to fund the projects that need to be done in the coming years. I think one of the biggest things that's important for us to recognize is the last referendum we ran was 2004. And so, while we did spend a lot of money, that was like Ms. Miller said, all of a sudden 2020 is going to be here before we know it. And that's 16 years since we had the last referendum and much of the projects that have been done. So I'm going to now turn it over to Chuck, who really was a facilitator of the plan.
So what we look at is that as we develop the master facility plan, we really take a look and we analyze what our needs are. We take a look at the life cycles of the systems that we possess. And then we're really looking to standardize and really apply the best practices to what it is that we do in maintaining all of the systems that we have within the system. The biggest thing that we're trying to get out of is we're trying to reduce being reactive in our maintenance so that we're reacting as something breaks. We're trying to implement the preventive practices, and we've gotten much better at that over the last 2 to 3 years, most especially, and that we have planned maintenance and that we're applying that. And an example of that would be our biannual seal coating that we're now doing of all of our parking lots, and you're going to see that on the agenda later on this evening. So how did we develop the plan? In October, we went once again and did our annual tour of every single building in the district, met with every principal, many of the head custodians and others involved in the building operations. And then we worked very hard with Carrie Dirk, our director of facilities, to make sure that we had a roofing report study done. We looked at our hardscapes, all of our concrete work and our asphalt, the parking lots that we have around the district. We looked at the mechanical equipment and reviewed that with our contractors. And then we really took a look at space again and how we're utilizing the classrooms that we have to try to see what economies we could find as we work through the master facility plan. From a factual basis, we have 26 educational facilities. 4 administrative buildings. Those are the 3 on this campus. So it's this, the Professional Development Center, the Transportation Compound, and then Transportation Compound out at Carpentersville Middle. Almost 2.7 million square foot of interior space, and that's about a 34% increase, where we added the 4 elementaries in 2006, and then we also added Gilbert's and Wright, some additions, and Hampshire High School. We do have 546.5 total acres. 140 of those are hard surfaces, either concrete or building or asphalt, and then the rest is grass and woodlands. 90% of our mechanical systems are in good shape. They've been replaced since 2002. A lot of that was utilizing the referendum, the almost $200 million that we had in construction and repair since 2002. 90% of our parking lots have been repaired or replaced since 2013. And our roofs are in better than average condition, but we're really going to have to start taking a look at a replacement schedule for those over the next 5 to 10 years. So the timing isn't quite there. And part of that is really waiting on the Capital Development Board with that funding that still has not come through. And Mrs. Harkin now is going to regale you with the capital project plans that have been done and what's to come.
So we've got some snapshots of pictures of some of the reports that are within the master facility plan. One, I want to just highlight that we have done a lot of improvements to our buildings. This represents the when we had the referendum money, there was about $192 million of what we used to buy building, do all the improvements that were approved through the referendum. In 2014, 15, and 16, as you recall, we did issue $15 million in debt certificates as we've been patiently waiting for the Capital Development Board grant. There's some projects that just can't wait anymore. It doesn't mean that we still don't need that money, because certainly as we do these projects that need to get done, other projects are coming on the list. And so certainly, but we had to find ways to, and certainly you approved and were part of the process as we did borrow $15 million to get some projects done. And primarily that related to the parking lots that have been done over the last couple of years that were in deterioration. So again, as we try to be preventative, proactive, and spend money in ways that are responsible to our taxpayers, we're doing our best. But we've spent about $210 million since 2004, making sure our buildings are improved and also addressing any additional space needs that are out there. So this is a summary of our master facility plan by type of area, whether it's mechanical, which is in the yellow, structural, which is in the orange, grounds, which is in the green, our safety projects are in blue, and the last is just miscellaneous projects on how we can provide a better environment to our students for their educational learning experience. This is inclusive. This isn't over the next 5 years that needs to get done, but it is a comprehensive look at everything that we would either need to replace, because certainly roofs don't last forever, HVAC equipment doesn't last forever, but we really need to make sure that we're replacing them at the right timeline so that we aren't spending a lot of repair dollars in ways that we don't need to. One of the things that was asked by our Construction and Facility Oversight Committee was, as we develop the plan, we should reevaluate it every year. And if we make some modifications, can we summarize this? And this was the items removed from this year's list. There was about 1.1 million, whether it was through conversations with the principals that we felt that it was no longer needed because we found other ways to address it, or whether our own internal buildings and ground staff took care of these projects. And I think this is a way for us to feel very responsible to our taxpayers and our community, to say we aren't just keeping things on the list just to keep them on the list. They're there if they need to be to help serve our buildings and provide the best environment, but if they don't need to be there, we've taken them off the list and worked with our building principals to address that.
What we're going to look at now is what we're planning on doing this summer, and then we'll give you a look forward as to the projects that some will be done this summer and some are planned for the future. For this summer, the big project will be the renovation of Carpentersville Middle School to get that ready for the incoming grade level change at the building to make it a 6-8 building. And those are progressing nicely, and you'll hear much more about that in February as the bid documents go out and as we ask you to approve the bid packages in March, so the construction may begin. Parking lot seal coating, that'll come to you this evening. We're funding that out of our operation maintenance fund, and this is on the biannual basis now, so every 2 years we'll be doing it, and there will be 19 parking lots that'll be seal coated this summer. Safety enhancements, 2 out of Mr. Chester's area. There's an emergency response system that he's working on that's coming from his department, and then there'll be a request that you will see at the next board meeting during the budget review, where we're going to talk about some additional security camera upgrades. The next couple of slides very simply show you the work that we, out of the Buildings and Grounds Department or through smaller contracts, will be working through. So we have a lot of concrete needs throughout the district, and these are sidewalks that are failing. We're creating separations, trip hazards, those types of things. And so as a general rule, over each summer, our mason, along with some of our summer help, is doing about 100 yards to 200 yards of concrete work on an annual basis, and then we're supplementing that through the fall in areas that we can work. So here are some of those identified projects. There are some exterior door replacement projects that we're working on, especially just due to age and salt denigration over years. There are some minor construction projects. We want to get in the One Home Ec Lab at DC and do some remodeling, countertop replacements. The carpet in the band room is really worn at AMS. Some of these are $5,000 projects. Some of them, can go up to $50,000 to $100,000. So it's a matter of us managing and defining what the greatest need is, and then utilizing our staff, the annual budget that we possess through the Buildings and Grounds Department to see which projects we actually can get done. We then go and look at some plumbing projects that we've identified throughout the district, electrical ones. Some of those are very minor. Some of them are a little bit more involved. And so we value those in working with our buildings. We take a look to safety. We take a look to the environment of the building. And then we take a chance to really utilize the dollars that we have the best we feel we can. And then obviously all mechanical systems, we inventory those. We're looking for preventative maintenance, getting much better on our belt replacement schedules, those types of things that keep the life of those systems longer. And then the grounds department, we're actually not going after tree replenishment, but actually tree replacement. We're going to do the parkways, and they're really looking to beautify the exterior of our buildings as well. So we're working on that. And Ms. Harkin will give you the last piece as we finish up here.
So as part of the 2016 projects that we presented to you, the one that we really need to find a funding source for, other than Mr. Chester's, who is a smaller amount, is the Carpentersville Middle School. We have approximately $1 million left in our capital projects budget, so we will, and I know we've made a plan to do that, so we will be requesting to issue debt certificates to make up the difference to fund the remainder of that. However, that will be part of, again, the application that's later on presented in this board package, which is we are requesting your approval of $31 million for a qualified school construction bond application that's at low or no interest that would be extended over a 20-year period to help fund those projects between 2017 and 2018. The amount up there is higher than $31 million, but we did put on there a placeholder because we need to do an update to our enrollment study, and certainly we've got some projects, and Mr. Bombalis and Mr. Hyde presented our enrollment projections, so there is a $15 million placeholder on there as well too for a future school down the road. That was anticipated as part of the last referendum, so that piece we'll back off of for right now because the qualified school construction bond wouldn't be approved for that piece of it. But that is something that we want to keep on the radar. We certainly want to make sure that our schools are at the right sizes and can house the students that are coming down the pipeline as well too. We do have 2019, 2020, 2021. The amount of the money of the qualified school construction bond would cover everything through 2019. We really need to work hard at a long-term funding source for some of those other projects that are coming down the road, but certainly if we are approved for this application and you approve it later on tonight, I feel confident that we're getting to the needs and making sure we continue to maintain our buildings in a fiscally responsible manner and to ensure that, we're doing the best what we can in a very large investment in our buildings. So I think that is it, unless there's any question about any of this.
Yeah, no, just a comment, and we've seen this now in committee a couple meetings in a row, and I just want to thank you and the team, Carrie, Chuck, your team, as well as the operations folks that are school-based. It's a really thorough process that you went through, very time-consuming, obviously, but you laid it out in a very easy way to review it, to see it, to be transparent about it. So thank you for that. And you said it a couple times, but I want to restate it. And one of our committee members, a parent, stated it also. It just, what we're doing here by doing this type of maintenance is preserving our tremendous resources and being good stewards of our money. And we all appreciate that. So thank you for that. Thanks for looking into the future and protecting our assets.
At this time, if Mr. Anthony McGann, our Director of Communications and Public Relations, will come to the podium, he will provide the board an update on our strategic plan.
Madam President, Board of Education, Superintendent Hyde, it is my pleasure to be with you this evening to provide an update on our district's strategic plan. This is related to goal number 2 of our strategic plan. So tonight I will provide the board with a brief presentation on the launch of the strategic plan website. During the next board meeting, Dr. Churchill, Susan Harkin, Lindsay Sharp, and I will provide a more in-depth strategic plan presentation that chronicles our progress in our plan's 4 goal areas. So tonight, I would like to officially announce the launch of the District 300 Strategic Plan website at d300.org/strategic plan. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to show you screenshots of the website as we can't transition from the PowerPoint slide to a website, so just please bear in mind. Okay, so once on the homepage, you will notice a different look than our current District 300 website. The strategic plan homepage includes a large image area for a rotating slideshow. In the upper right-hand corner, you will notice that there are 2 menu tabs leading to useful information. The first tab, titled Plan, includes information about all 4 goal areas and provides the user the ability to download the overall strategic plan document. The second tab, entitled The Process, provides information and important goals that can help increase understanding of our strategic plan goals, and we will address this shortly. When you return to the homepage, you will again notice that the large image of the slideshow area, and if you were to scroll down, you would notice 5 icons. On the left-hand side, you will notice an icon that says the strategic plan. If you were to click that, the user would then be able to download a PDF version of the strategic plan. If you then return to that icon page, you'll notice 4 different icons delineating each of the 4 goals. Should someone click on one of those icons, they would be led to a page, let's just say it was goal number 1, where they would see video updates for that particular goal that would be updated on a regular basis, and also print versions of selected highlights for each of those goals. All 4 goals do have regularly updated video updates. Coincidentally, we filmed our second updates today. And also, we have text highlights for each of the 4 goal areas. Taking the final look at the homepage, if you return back to the Process tab, there are 2 items of note. The first one is the goals, strategies, initiatives, and example actions defined. We included this here to ensure that the user is aware of all the different definitions and terms that we're using, so we have a common awareness when we're having a dialogue with our external stakeholders. For the process, we wanted to make sure that our community understood the process that the strategic plan team went through as we created the document. So to recap, we just wanted to communicate that the strategic plan website is now live at d300.org/strategic plan, and that the board will receive a formal strategic plan update during the next January 26th Board of Education meeting.
Okay, so this is really cool. So you don't need to worry about transitioning back and forth because we have these handy little devices here.
Oh, great.
And while you were speaking, I actually did it. And if I could do it, many, many more people can. So this is great.
Great, thank you.
I do like this.
Just to make that point of clarification, this is more than just a communication tool. This is an accountability tool, because our strategic plan does guide our work each and every day, and we work to honor that, which is why the updates are an imperative to provide you with that information, but also to provide it for all stakeholders, because there's always those lingering questions. How does the district function? What's their goal? I mean, the vision and mission are clearly articulated, but I think sometimes the work that we do each day is lost because people can't necessarily have a touch point with it. And so the strategic plan allows us that clarity and transparency. And also, again, as I shared, the accountability for what we do each day to support our overall vision and mission. So I'm very proud of the work that Anthony and his team have done. And this is, again, as Dr. Churchill pointed out, an extended team that works on this, because every one of our superintendent's cabinet members have a touch point with the strategic plan. They each monitor their each respective area, and therefore they use that as an accountability tool internally as well. But it does guide their work. So.
And I really think that that's important, because there's been times when there may have been a strategic plan or a goal or a new initiative or we're getting this grant, and that's all great, but how does it fit into the master overall plan? Very similar to the time when we used to have our District 300 mission statement in front of us, and every time we took action, it was, well, how does it fit in with this? So it's nice to see that everything kind of has a place, and if it doesn't fit somewhere in here, we question why we're doing it, and if we are doing it, where does it fit in here, and keep it accountable. It's great.
Thank you, Mr. McGinn. As we transition to our final presentation tonight as part of the superintendent's report, Ms. Lindsay Abaduto is our Director of Professional Development and Programs, but also we've been constantly changing and tweaking our overall presentation format, and you'll notice that throughout tonight's presentation, outside of Mr. McGinn's providing you the concepts and the work that's been done, we've linked every one of the areas to a strategic plan goal as well. So as stakeholders review these documents, because we do post them the following day, there's also an ability for everyone to make the connection between this area and a specific target goal area in our strategic plan. Ms. Abaduto.
Good evening. So I am also excited to be here presenting on some other exciting opportunities for our staff. So we are addressing goals 1 and 4 of the strategic plan with regards to professional development. And I've got 2 initiatives that I wanted to talk to you about tonight. So currently, District 300 is ready to launch an in-house professional development opportunity for staff. So we have over 2,000 employees in the district who have a wealth of knowledge that they can impart on one another. And so we are asking for course proposals on a multitude of topics for semester D300 university courses. Courses will be registration based and will begin in February. And each semester we will introduce a new catalog of courses for staff to register. So kind of, Ms. Miller, to your point of how do we continually professionally develop people on technology, we can do that through D300 University. Courses will be offered after school, online, Saturdays, and in the summer, and there's some great benefits to our staff and ultimately our students here. This will be differentiated. So it's no longer just a one and done. You take a class and then you don't do anything with it anymore. We know that people have various tiers of support that they need or levels of expertise. So for instance, if I am a teacher and I have some basic knowledge of how I can utilize Google Apps in my classroom, that's great. I could take a class on that. But once I take that class, it doesn't stop there. I can then take Google 2.0 or 3.0 and continually extend my level of knowledge in those areas and bring that back into my classroom. It's an increased opportunity for professional development, which leads to better instructional practices. There will be less time away from classrooms during the day. So instead of us pulling teachers from classes where they need to be hands-on with students, we can deliver these classes online, after school, on the weekends, for teachers to get the professional development that they need. It's a way for teachers to earn continuing professional developmental education units, and ultimately what we call PDUs for
lane change credit. And we are working on developing instructional leaders, teacher leaders to instruct the courses. And ultimately that's a cost savings to the district. Currently we provide professional development and sign off on professional development for teachers to go outside and we pay for workshops for them to go to. Why not harness that power here in District 300? And so that's what we are doing. Additionally, on March 3rd, we have our Educator to Educator event. There are over 50 topics for teachers to take part in at Jacobs and across the county. A catalog will be going out this Friday for teachers to start registering for their courses. District 300 teachers alone are offering over 30 topics in both full day and half day sessions. And our focus this year in partnering with the way that technology is bridging into our future is 21st century learning. So all of the courses that D300 teachers are providing are on technology, collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and creativity.
So quick update or quick interjection here. On the first slide or second slide, when we talked about differentiated learning for staff, and while Ms. Abadudo spoke specifically of teachers, this is also applicable for all of our district staff and administrators as well, because as we transition to the digital content and digital instructional methodology, that is important for all. Ms. Miller, you touched on that with what are we doing to train and make sure everybody has that background, and not just from the collegiate level, how they're coming in with what skill set, but then how are we backfilling that. But it's not just a teacher skill, it is an everyone skill. I think that's important to point out. And Ms. Abadudo has done a phenomenal job of putting together our educator to educator events, really reaching out. We've been working with, most recently we had our Datacom meetings where schools had to provide an update as to the progress of their students' academics from the beginning of the year to the midpoint of the year. You'll receive those updates next board meeting. But it's important to also point out that through that conversation, we were also able to ask, based on concepts that were being reinforced at those buildings or instructional practices, to ask principals for recommendations. So we could reach out to those teachers and say, hey, we'd like you to present on this topic. It's important and it's relevant to your peer group. As Dr. Churchill pointed out, the most important thing that happens in a classroom is the interaction between a staff member or a teacher and our students. They are by far the most important resource we have. So we do need to give them opportunities to share across our district, because at times we can become very siloed in our grade level, in our department, or in our school. And there are a lot of phenomenal teachers, and it's a struggle for us from time to time to identify or limit our educator spotlight, because we do see so many shining examples. We want to give them the opportunity to share their experience and skill set across the district with others and be recognized, because that is a form of recognition to be asked to lead professional development as well. And as Ms. Abadudo pointed out, they both get CPDUs and PDUs towards their overall movement in lane and salary. Good job.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board on that last topic? Okay, that concludes the superintendent's report for this evening.
Okay, thank you. Whew. And I apologize again regarding my spelling comments.
I have much thicker skin than that, Ms. Miller.
All right, we have no one signed up for public participation. Moving on to discussion items, we'll do this as we have in the past. As I go down, I will watch our board members here, make sure that I can see all of you. And if there is a topic that you want to have discussion on, just let me know. We will be discussing tonight, voting at our next board meeting. So, 8.1, meeting minutes. 8.2, permission to destroy closed session recordings. 8.3, redacted closed session minutes. 8.4, out-of-district travel report. 8.5, donation report. 8.6, disposal items report. 8.7, treasurer's report. 8.8, credit card services RFP. 8.9, concrete pricing bid. 8.10, seal coating bid, what Mr. Bombalis referred to earlier that we would be seeing. 8.11, elementary school data wiring E-rate bid. 812, 2016-17 student fees. 813, 2016-17 bell times. 814, Freedom of Information Act report. 815, Human Resources report. 9, consent items. Motion to approve? So moved.
Second.
Mr. Alessio?
C. Miller,
Aye.
Fiorentino,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Alessio, aye. Motion passes 4-0.
Roll call action items. This would be 10-1. Bear with me as I read this. A motion to have a resolution approving an application to the Illinois State Board of Education for qualified school construction bond designation for obligations to finance certain capital projects in and for Community Unit School District 300, Illinois, authorizing the president of the Board of Education of said school district to execute said application and directing an official of said school district to submit said application.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion?
Just a
Mr.
couple
Lacy.
comments. This is not issuing bonds for any project that's not needed or just doing that because money is available. These are projects that need to be completed by school district in the coming years, but there's an opportunity to get someone else to pay for the interest, so we can get these at a lower, almost zero interest rate. So we'll apply to take advantage of that if possible.
And this is what we had presentation on, I don't know if it was at our last board meeting or previous board meeting discussion. Any other comments? Okay. Mr. Alessio?
Garcia,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Alessio, aye. Fiorentino,
Aye.
motion passes 4-0.
Okay, item 10.2. Nice to see they realize that I can't see. I have big print.
Good.
Motion, I need a motion to expel student number 7 for 1 1/2 school years and to be administratively placed in the summer semester of 2017 for possession of a weapon with intent to cause harm, trespassing with intent to cause harm, and violation of a district disciplinary warning.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Alessio?
Fiorentino,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Alessio, aye. Miller,
Aye.
motion passes 4-0.
This is 10.3. Motion to expel student 8 for 1 school year and to be administratively placed in January of 2017 for interference with school purposes or an educational function, failure to report a violation of school rules to a school official, disorderly conduct, and violation of a district disciplinary warning.
So moved.
Second.
Alessio, aye. Miller,
Aye.
Garcia,
Nay.
Fiorentino,
Aye.
passes 3-1.
Item 10.4. Motion to expel student 9 for 1 1/2 school years and to be administratively placed in the summer semester of 2017 for possession of a weapon with intent to cause harm, trespassing with intent to cause harm, making threats to other students, fighting, and violation of a district disciplinary warning.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Alessio?
Alessio, aye. Fiorentino,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
motion passes 4-0.
All righty. Committee reports. Anything else on board finance?
I think we covered most of what was in Finance Committee. We did review a few of the RFPs. One note about the school fees, you might see, it looks like, well, they are recommending an increase of $40 for the registration fee. At first, that might seem steep, but that will include the insurance for the one-to-one program, so it's actually a wash or a good deal compared to the separate pricing.
Anything else on construction and facility oversight?
A couple comments. We touched on most of the things that we did in our agenda on Monday night, but or Tuesday night. I want to say congratulations to Dundee Crown. They raised $25,000 to redo their scoreboard in their main gym, and the boosters will be paying for this, and it's just outstanding. So I just want to share that from the group. Everybody was very excited for them. And then Dewberry did give us an update on the CMS renovation, so you'll see the timeline in your board packet. The one thing I wanted to highlight is the asbestos abatement is planned to begin at spring break. So, and they're being very thorough with that. And the timeline is very, I think, sounds like it's very realistic, and they're very sure that it'll be completed the first week of August. And that's signed and sealed by Chuck, right? Absolutely. So, but those are the two things I just wanted to add. Everything else, master facility. The seal coating, the other one, I just want to make a quick comment about that is we had 8 bids for seal coating. So very pleased about that. I know several board members have commented in the past that we haven't had bids. So well done to that team, Diane and others. And I think when we asked why that was, they said it was because we got the bids out in early bidding. And so well done with that. We're really happy about that. Thank you.
Mr. Hyde, anything else?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Anyone else?
I would just like to point out that members here are going to have a tough time deciding whether to attend the meeting on the 26th or not, because there is an ILME district preview concert at Dundee Crown High School at 7 p.m. The choirs will be singing, and it is on the same night as the meeting. So I urge you to send maybe your spouses if you feel that you have to be here.
Spouses here or?
No, well, I don't, yeah, or significant others, but I'll be attending the actual performance down at ILMEA, so I will be here on the 26th. But it's going to be fantastic. It's a great choir, so a couple of great choirs and ensemble groups.
We might be able to move the meeting to Dundee Crown.
That would be phenomenal.
That would be.
Well, that could be cool.
I'll work with Miss.
7.
I'll work with Miss Keys and the bachelors and Dundee Crown administration and see what we can
A
do.
little early,
to-
maybe?
I think we might be able to accommodate that.
I love that idea. Okay.
Is that
I'm not looking
I
over
will
this
limit
way.
this. I will intentionally limit the superintendent's
Don't have a
report.
70-page superintendent's report. We could do it.
You hired me to be an innovative and progressive superintendent, and that's what
That-
we're doing.
Wow, that would be phenomenal if we can work out the technology part. So with that,
Jason, I see a lot of. We can make it work.
oh, but that would be great because we'd have staff right there. We could have a 6:30 to 7 o'clock board meeting. 6 to 7.
No closed session.
supposed to last more than an hour. Just if that helps with planning in any way, shape, or form.
Okay. Right. And
We'll go through, we'll just do everything as.
We do not have an obligation to videotape our session, or I think we can use some mobile devices. We'll be fine.
yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Okay.
Tripod. Selfie stick. Selfie stick.
That would be great. So if you will look into that, we have enough time for posting as well. But what better way to show support for our music department and sending them off and having staff not have to make a choice? All right, with that good note, motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, 8:15.
Like all in favor?
I thought it was going to be a lot longer than that.